Okay, today we are going to begin piecing our sailboat that we've drawn the pattern for. We did draw the pattern on freezer paper, so we will be able to attach our fabrics with just the iron. We won't need glue today, but we need to get our fabric pieces cut. So the first piece, A, is a 3 by 5 rectangle of whatever color you want your flag to be. B is a long strip of sky that goes above the flag. That's 1.5 by 5.5. C is this big piece of the sky, and you'll need to cut a rectangle 5 inches by 9 inches. Piece D is your small sail. Cut that whatever color you'd like it to be, and it's 5 inches by 8 inches. Piece E is this long, narrow strip of sky down the side. Cut that 2.5 by 9 1/2. Piece F is the big sail. Cut that 6 inches by 10 inches. Piece G is the large piece of the sky. Cut that
8 inches by 11 inches.
Piece H is your boat. Cut that 4 inches by 13 inches. And piece IJ makes the water. So you're going to take one 5-inch square and you will be cutting it diagonally when the time comes. You will also need your rotary cutter and your mat, your 12.5-inch ruler, your iron and your pressing surface, your paper pattern, and of course your sewing machine. And we don't really need to worry about that 1/4-inch stitch today because we're going to be sewing next to the paper. If you look at your finished block and look at the pattern, you notice that they are on mirror images. That's because we had to draw our pattern on the paper side of the freezer paper, but we will actually be attaching our pattern pieces to this wax side. So our pattern will end up reversed of what we drew. Because I used marker when I drew my pattern, I can see through to see the lines on the reverse side. If you cannot see your lines through your paper, go ahead and take a marker or a pencil and draw those lines. Draw on the paper side, because if you draw on this wax side, there's a chance that your marks might transfer onto your fabric. The thing I like about freezer paper piecing is that I can put a piece in place, and if I get it on there a little bit wrong, I can move it. It's repositionable. So it's a lot easier than using glue. Also, not sewing through the paper is easier on the sewing machine, in my opinion. Alright, we need to start with the shiny side up of our paper. We need to start with fabric piece A. In this case, I used a light gray. I'm going to place the fabric piece so that it completely covers the A section. Make sure that I have it completely covered. And then I'm going to just press that, not even 10 seconds, just for a few seconds, just to hold the fabric in place on the paper. And you can see it is secured. So that is your first step. Go ahead and do that. Okay, for step 2, we want to place a piece of cardboard or something right along the line between A and B. And we are going to fold the paper but leave the fabric flat. So we may have to just gently move the fabric out of the way. But if you'll see, I have now folded right along that line, and my fabric is still attached to the A, but out here in the edge it's not attached. So go. The next step is to go ahead and place your 12.5-inch ruler so that the 1/4 inch mark is on the edge of the paper, and then you will just cut the excess fabric. When you open the paper back up, this is what you end up with. We're now ready to place piece B, which is a small piece, 1.5 by 5.5, and it is going to cover this sky section at the top above the flag. We are going to begin by matching up the raw edge of the B piece right sides together with the A piece. And we want to make sure that our B piece is large enough that it completely fills the area that it is supposed to be filling, and it does. Take it to the pressing surface, open up the paper so that the B can be seen. Gently fold along that seam line that you just made, and finger press, and then press that piece into place. So you have now completed the first 2 of your 10 pieces of your sailboat. The piece we will place next is C. It is a large piece of the sky. Your piece should measure 5 inches by 9 inches. And we need to prepare our pattern to place the C piece. Turn your paper with the drawn side up. Gently and carefully fold along that A piece. Again, you might have to reach underneath and just grab this little bit of fabric that may be adhered to the wax. Fold along the C piece on your paper. You'll notice the extra A fabric is out here to the side. We're going to use the 1/4 inch ruler and trim away the excess. This is the add a 1/4 ruler. It's a really handy tool if you find that you do a lot of paper piecing. It eliminates the need to use the big ruler to take these 1/4 inch seam allowances, and I'm going to show you real quickly how it works. It has a little ledge along the edge here at the 1/4 inch, and that is what butts up against your paper. So remember, we're cutting on this AC line, the line where A and C come together. We're going to be cutting on this line. We have folded our paper back along that line. We make sure our fabric is nice and flat underneath of that. And then just take this add a 1/4 ruler and make that 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm now going to be placing this C piece of fabric, and you can see that it is a large triangle. We cut our fabric larger because we want to make sure that we have plenty to cover all of the seams. And because I am able to see through my lines that I drew, I can see that this is plenty big enough. But it needs to go right sides together with my A fabric. So if you look at my pattern, I can see the C triangle here. I'm going to place my fabric so that it completely covers the C triangle. And you might have to move it around just a little bit. That's why we cut the pieces larger. Okay, so my two pieces of fabric are right sides together. I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew right along the line between A and C. Okay, I have sewn along that line between A and C. I'm going to open my paper up. I'm going to open my fabric up. And I am going to gently finger press this and then press it into place on the C unit. So I have A, B, and C in place now, and we're ready to move on to piece D. Piece D is your small sail. You should have cut that 5 inches by 8 inches. I cut mine from red. We are going to fold back along the line between C and D at this time. And I'm going to use my cardboard to help me fold that straight. You can use a postcard, you can use whatever you have handy. But I'm folding between C and D. And you can see, because we cut our C piece larger, we had plenty of coverage, and we actually have some extra here that we need to trim off. So again, I'm going to use the add a quarter ruler, and I'm just going to trim right down this line. And I get the nice 1/4 inch seam allowance that I need to attach my next piece. My next piece is D. You can see that I cut it plenty large enough to cover the entire piece. I'm going to place it right sides together with my C piece. Making sure to match up my raw edges, my 1/4 inch line. I have plenty of coverage back here. I've got the entire piece covered well. So got plenty of coverage back here. The entire piece is covered very well. I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew it right up against the paper right on that line. All right, I have sewn along that line between C and D. There's my stitching line right up against the paper. I can open the paper and then flip it over and open the fabric. Gently finger press it into place. Check to make sure that I entirely covered the D piece, and I did. So I can press that into place with the iron. Okay. And I have now completed piece A, B, C, and D. Here's what it looks like from the other side. Doesn't look like much yet, but it will. The next piece we're going to do is E, which is this long narrow strip. You needed to cut that 2.5 by 9.5. It's a piece of the sky, so it'll be the same fabric you used for your sky. Okay, so you want to fold back the paper along line CE, the line between C and E. And then you want to trim that 1/4 inch for your seam allowance. And then you are going to put right sides together. This is your E piece. It's a very long, straight piece. So place right sides together and stitch right up against the paper. Okay, this is what we have so far. We have our flag, we have the top of the sky, we have the side pieces of the sky, and we have our piece for our small sail. That's pieces A, B, C, D, and E. We are ready to place piece F. If you look at your pattern, piece F is your large sail. It will be a straight seam along the line between D and F. So fold your paper back along that line between D and F. Trim off the excess seam allowance. Find piece F. And place piece F right sides together with the previous pieces right along that drawn line. And again, we are going to stitch along the line. Right, here is my piece with F in place. I'm going to fold back along that line between F and G and press that down. I'm going to trim that 1/4 inch. Sorry for all the spinning, but I have to do it right-handed. And I'm going to place piece G. Open my fabric out. I can see that piece G is a large piece. I pre-labeled them, so I know that this is it. It's going to go in this space. I'm going to place it right sides together with piece F, matching up my 1/4 inch and making sure that I have coverage down here at this little bottom edge, because that is where you will find that you will mess up. Flat. Okay, make sure you have coverage at this bottom edge. Make sure you have this top edge covered. If you are not sure, you can open your paper back up and gently fold that back on that 1/4 inch mark or on that drawn line, and make sure that your fabric covers the entire piece where it's supposed to go. And see, mine needs to come down to the bottom just a tiny bit more. So I can now take this and sew it along this drawn line between F and G. Okay, I've sewn that line between F and G. I can open up my paper. I can open up my fabric. Looks like I am good on my coverage everywhere. Remember, be sure to lift it up if you need to. Make sure everything's covered, and everything is covered. I can see through my paper. All right, I'm going to finger press that into place, and then I can press it with the iron and be ready to make the next piece, which is the actual boat piece. Okay, open out your paper. Open out your fabric. Make sure that you have plenty of coverage for section F, which I do. Finger press that into place, and then set the seam with the iron, gently adhering the fabric to the wax of the paper. So this is what you have right now. You have a small sail, a large sail, the flag, and some of the sky. We're going to place the remainder of the sky, the boat, and the water, and then we will be finished. Okay, so here's what I have so far. I have 2 sails, a flag, and all of my sky finished. I'm ready to put the boat part in, and that is piece H, and you cut that 4 inches by 13 inches. To do piece H, we're going to fold on this line between H and all of the other pieces. Trim the 1/4 inch. We're going to find piece H, which is 4 inches by 13 inches. We're going to place it right sides together with the other unit. And we're going to sew along the paper where those pieces meet. I have sewn right along that paper line. I'm going to open up the paper. I'm going to open up the fabric. Make sure that it covers completely, and it does. So I'm just going to press it into place. I'm just going to press it into place now. And you can see we have completed most of our sailboat. We just need to add the corner pieces, which make the water, and then trim the block. The last 2 pieces, I and J, are made from one 5x5 square. And we are going to cut this square on the diagonal from corner to corner. And these will form the 2 sections of our water, the front and the back of the boat. We're ready to do the water sections. Same procedure as we've been doing. We're going to fold back on the line between H and I. We're going to trim the 1/4 inch. We're going to place our fabric triangle right sides together. And we cut these way oversized so that we would have plenty of fabric back there. So just take your time getting this piece in place. You should have plenty of extra fabric back there. We're going to match the 1/4 inch seam. We're going to take it to the sewing machine and sew right along that line. Okay, we're going to fold the paper open. We're going to fold the fabric open. We have plenty of coverage on our fabric, so we can iron that into place. And we have the front of our boat. Now we need to do this corner or the back of our boat. Same procedure. We're going to fold on J. Oops. We're going to trim away the 1/4 inch. And we are going to put right sides together and sew this triangle into place. All right, fold the J fabric open. Make sure it covered, and it did. Press it into place. And we have completed the paper pieced sailboat block. The last thing we need to do is trim it. We drew the 12.5 inch line all the way around when we started. So all we need to do is take a straight ruler, whether it be a straight edge or our 12.5 inch acrylic ruler, and trim up those 4 sides. Trimmed it all the way around. This is my finished sailboat. It was fairly quick to piece. It's only 10 pieces. These would be really cute set in alternating blocks with a solid color block, or to make a row of these across the bottom of a baby quilt and then maybe put some clouds and things up in the sky above, maybe the sun and some clouds. I can think quite a few uses for this. The ones that I've made, this black, white, and red one probably will go in my block of the month quilt. The bright colored one that I made, I'm going to actually use to make a pillow to go in one of our bedrooms. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed making your sailboat block, and happy sewing.